All right, guys. We're going to get it going. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for coming out. We'll, like the last few years, we'll do these every month. So our schedule's set, and glad to see you guys here, and hope you make use of it. We just came from practice. We're in the last week of our 20-hour weeks, and then we have an inter-squad scrimmage Saturday morning at 9, which anybody can come to if you feel like it, and it's in Oosterbaan. And then we go to 8-hour weeks the rest of the semester, which is mostly strength and conditioning stuff for us, a little bit of lacrosse stuff. So kind of in a transition phase right now with what we're doing. Last year, I did one presentation on practice planning and kind of how we build a practice. And this year, I thought I'd actually go through a couple of our plans and talk a little bit more about what goes into an actual practice, show you a few of them, show you some of the drills that we do in some of these practices, and because I know guys always like to get some drill ideas, and then take any questions after that. So showed this in the last presentation. This is the one thing that's going to be a repeat, but when we run practices, the keys to us are that list there, and the number one key is having enough balls, and that's one of those is tennis balls, but that's literally how many balls we have out at practice every day. And it's the first thing I recommend to any new program is don't spend your money on gloves and helmets, spend them on balls, because that's going to make you, it's going to allow you to get reps, and reps is the key to becoming better. You just got to have your stick in your hand. You've got to have balls coming out and into your stick. You've got to be getting reps, and the only way to do that, keep continuity in practice, is with a lot of lacrosse balls. Have clear practice rules. I'm going to go through ours in a minute here, so the guys know what's expected of them, and then hold them accountable to those rules. Plan long-term and daily. Plan what you want to get done in your practices over the course of the semester, over the course of the week and that day, and have that plan. Adjust. Once you have a plan, understand that no plan is perfect, and you're going to have to adjust based on what you guys are actually comprehending, what you're actually learning, what you actually is working, injuries, weather. There might be reasons you have to adjust, and don't be afraid to. Definitely warm up and cool down appropriately. We continue to change and evolve in that area. This year we had our track coach, women's track coach, been here forever, James Henry, who's well known for the way he does active isolated stretching with his athletes, and we started incorporating that more into our stretching routine. It's made an enormous difference already with our guys. There are several, there are a lot of experts in that. AIS is what it's called, active isolated stretching, that really does work on flexibility. And we do that now first, and then we get into our dynamic warm-up, then we practice, and then we do a kind of more traditional stretch at the end. All important parts. Do the right drills. We think through every single drill we do when we're planning our practices. We think through, why are we doing this drill today? What exactly are we trying to get out of it? Is it the appropriate drill for now? Do we need to make up a drill for what we actually want to do today? But do the right drills. Never do a drill just to do a drill. We have no problem running a 1-hour practice if those are the drills we need that day, and that's what we need to get done. And if it's a 2-hour practice, it is. But we're not going to add drills just to add drills unless you just need guys to get reps and you're just doing some shooting stuff or some stick work stuff, which you can never do too much of, which follows to do what you need and not more than you need. Keep it fresh. We have some go-to drills. Everybody has go-to drills. But we're inventing new ones all the time. We're changing things up all the time. And we're really trying to read the vibe of our team. We want the guys excited and energized every day. So this week we're doing all competitive stuff, very competitive stuff, with consequences, with points. Right now, this week, for example, we're doing 3 days of practice because they had Monday and Tuesday off. Each day they can earn 1 or 2 points towards our scrimmage. They're all in the same teams all week. And so one team could come into Saturday with a 6-0 lead to start the scrimmage, and then they're playing that scrimmage for something. So right now it's 2-0 blue team. So the maize team can come back and tie it up tomorrow, or they could be down as much as 4-0 going into the scrimmage. So it gets competitive. Use a clock, even if you don't have a visible clock available. Use a clock and stick to it. All right, we do, and you'll see this in our practice plans. Our segments are anywhere from 3 minutes long to 15 minutes long. It's probably about the longest we do. Most of our segments, most of our drills we do probably average 5 or 6 minutes. They're quick, and we want that kind of tempo. We want the guys staying energized, staying, really into the drill, and then move on to the next one. We give them usually 1 minute transition in between. That's where they catch their breath. We get set for the next drill. We talk if we need to, and we're set and we're going. But we want that tempo. Tempo is important, and it's the one biggest change that everybody says. I mean, when they go from high school to college, what every single one of our guys say, no matter where they came from, is the tempo of practice is so different. And you can replicate that in high school. There's no reason you can't. But that's the biggest thing they say, is practice moves so fast. And using a clock is a big part of that. Buzzer goes, drill's over, go to the next one. Make it competitive. I talked about that. We're having a whole competitive week, but that's a great way to get the guys really into what you're doing. And you can turn almost any drill into a competitive drill. We turn some stick work drills into competitive drills where, how many catches and drops count for either team, and that can be competitive. The whole team can be trying to do a stick work drill in a certain amount of time. They're only allowed so many drops, or they have to run. So you can make anything competitive you want. Once you get into the season, I understand high school is a little bit different, but have some kind of game week routine. One thing we've learned is that at the end of the week, less is certainly more. You want you guys fresh to play. So, develop whatever that game week routine is. Have the things you do the day before you play. That there might be one or two things you got to add because you're doing something special that week, but there should also be kind of a routine to that game week. They feel the build-up and then they feel the taper, so they feel fresh when they play. Absolutely reward excellence. I think it's really easy sometimes to get caught on focusing on all the things we do wrong. And there's a lot at every single level. And we have to reward excellence, and we have to look for it sometimes. Sometimes, you have to reward guys for thinking the right way even if they don't make the right play, or almost making the right play. And those are the kind of things that keep guys coming back, that keep them energized, keep them positive. Know the pulse of your team. I think that's a really important one. You need to know when to drive them. You need to know when to ease off a little bit. It doesn't mean be easy on them. It just means understand when it's appropriate to do those two things. And every team's different. It depends on your leadership, depends on the way you coach, depends on what you're trying to get done. But really getting a sense of that pulse is, I think, a critical part of having effective practices. If you can, use film. We're showing you practice film today. We film every practice, most practices with multiple cameras. We have the capability to do that, but I say this all the time, everybody nowadays can film. Even you can get a cheap camera and film, and it's so valuable. It is the #1 way to teach, is to show the guys what they're doing. And even if you're doing it simply and just throwing practice up on YouTube or something, that's a huge help for the guys to be able to watch it with a couple notes. Watch this at 5 minutes, watch this at 10 minutes. Learn this part, come back tomorrow knowing those two parts. It could be a giant help to you guys. And then, of course, conditioning. And I think every practice, unless you're tapering at the end of the week, should have some kind of conditioning in it. Sometimes we actually run conditioning. Today was a day that we had pre-practice speed and agility stuff and post-practice actual conditioning. But the practice itself, obviously, if you're running a high-tempo practice, can be a lot of conditioning depending on what you're doing. Even half-field stuff can be a lot of conditioning if everything is high-tempo. Guys are subbing in and out a lot. And I think you can get a lot out of practice without having to run extra if you're running your practices that way. These are our practice rules. You have to figure out the ones that are important to you. The only thing that I suggest is that whatever rules you make sure you're ready to enforce them. So, and I say that about any team rules. Don't make a rule you can't or are not willing to enforce. So, and these are ours. We expect the guys when they're on the field to have their helmets on. We expect them to be wearing whatever shoulder pads they're wearing, which aren't really shoulder pads anymore, but we expect to have them on. And mouth guards in all drills. When we run drills, we want the guys going full speed all the way to the next line. They don't get to throw the ball and then slow down and walk to the end of the line, something that's important to us, and it keeps the tempo and conditioning going. Our guys are not allowed to bring phones to practice. When we meet and the team comes in, I want them all standing in front of the coach. I don't want guys behind me. I want to see that they're paying attention. So the whole team has to be within my field of vision in front of me. Obviously, respect whoever is talking. This is a big one, and I think this can be kind of a practice killer if you're not following this. But we have a lot of injured guys right now. We had, I think, 13 guys out of our last scrimmage. And we need those guys involved in practice. They're not sitting on the side. They're not hanging out with the trainer unless they're doing active rehab. they're involved, and they should be helping their teammates, they should be learning, they should be coaching, and that's part of your team culture. When you get to the right spot, you don't have to enforce that anymore. The team starts enforcing it. And, but I think it's, those guys just hanging off on the side, and we've all seen it. I've had teams that have done this a lot too, and really kill a practice because they can kind of bring everybody down or distract those guys. Keeping those guys involved is important. Know your practice team is a rule for us because we split the team into teams for practice, for scrimmage situations, some drill situations. So for us, the guys have to know that. We send them to practice, and then it's up in the locker room as well. They have to know their team as they come in so that we don't have to remind them which team they're on that day. Neat sidelines important to us. We want everything organized. If you watch our guys, they put their shoes down together, they fold their shirts, the bags are all neatly organized everywhere they go. Again, to me, it's like making your bed first thing in the morning. It's just to do that. It's a little thing that adds discipline to what you do. To me, it's kind of a life lesson thing, but I hate seeing a sloppy sideline. Same with the organized stretching lines. Like, we want those. Everybody's doing the same stretch. Those are all things to me that go to culture. Is it so important? Can they still get a stretch? Sure, they can still get a stretch. But for us, we want them to think that the little things are really important. So we focus on a lot of little things. We say appreciate the staff. We know that 90% of the time they appreciate us. We're in their faces all the time. We have a manager staff of students that bust their butts for our guys. Film people who are working with us, and our trainers are a lot of people that are helping us, and we just want to make sure that they appreciate all those people and all they're doing for them. So it's a key to us. And we want them to be competitive and bring energy every day. That's a hard one, right? And that goes to your team culture and your leadership, but it's something that we need to have happen. So this is a practice plan from earlier this fall. And I'm showing this to show you, we'll go through the practice a little bit, but we've evolved our practice sheet a little bit. We developed this in Excel. It's just a simple, there is no great practice software yet, development software. There is for a lot of other sports. But for lacrosse, I've actually been talking to a company that does this for other sports in a really high-level, great way, and they're still thinking about developing it for lacrosse. Our market just isn't big enough yet. So we've developed our own Excel sheet, and all we needed to get are the things that are important to us on here in the places that make sense to us, in a format that makes sense to us. So the first thing up top for us is just, this is our organizational system. So this stuff all gets stored on your computer. For us, it's on a server, so we can all access it. But where the practice is, just a reminder. So I can look at any practice sheet and see exactly what phase this was, when this practice came in. I know it's week 3 of the fall. I know it's practice number 12, and that tells me some things about what we're doing. And then there are some key things that are important for us. For us, this is Team 4. The 5th symbol is our core values, family integrity, selflessness, and toughness. And this is the first year of the Big Ten, and those are just constant reminders to us about what we are. The main section here is obviously what we're doing that day. We list everything from the time the guys are thinking about lacrosse on. So this day started with a lift and then film, and then you can see the transition times are built into there to get in between facilities, and then once we're in practice, we start our warm-up, and then we're going. And then our practices don't always get divided the same way in the same order. We have different things that we do based on what that practice is meant to accomplish. But we usually start out with some kind of stick work, sometimes more than this, sometimes less. And then this would be very typical. We'll go into some kind of drill work. We're working on more skill work other than just stick work. Then we usually go into split development where we get the offense on one end, the defense on the other end. The goalies are working with Casey, and I work with our face-off guys. And we have some kind of focus that we're doing with those guys. And that can be, we don't do that every single day, but almost every day we do split development. And that can be, if you have enough coaches, it's a great way to get a lot of technique work done. Our offense might be shooting. This day it looked like they were doing skelly work on some of our new offense stuff. We have a new offensive coordinator, Connor Forts, who's putting in a lot of new offensive stuff for the guys, so probably a lot of skeleton work. Coach Brochard was doing some stick work and then some of his checks and slides work. So it's an opportunity to really fine-tune some of the stuff by unit. Then we come back and drill what we just worked on in split development. So our drill section almost always focuses on on what we just worked on individually, and builds into. And then we don't always do 6-on-6. This day we did. And again, adding competition. This first 12 minutes was just sixes where we're working through everything that we were probably teaching in those sections before here, and probably a few days before that as well. And then we get into a competitive section because we like to compete, where it's offense against defense. And the way we do these 6-on-6 competitive sessions is we put 1:30 on the clock, and the offense has 1:30 to score. The defense has 1:30 to clear the ball. And if they clear it under 1:30, or just kill it, if 1:30 passes, the defense wins as well without a goal. If they clear it, they get the point. If the offense scores, they get the point. And we go a ratio we worked out that makes sense to us is if the defense gets forced, we usually go 5 times. It might go quicker if somebody wins that fast. But if the defense gets 4 stops, it's over, they've won. If the offense gets 2 goals, it's over, they won. So that ratio based on offensive and defensive efficiencies that we work through will make sense to us. We have a ritual where we all sprint together at the end. We call it Team 100. We've been doing that for years here. And again, having some of these kind of rituals I think is important to your team. It's something everybody expects every day. And we stretch, and we're done, and we go eat. These are our practice teams. We actually, in Excel, it's nice, you can build this in drop-down lists, so we can plug any guy into any spot that we want. It's harder to do. You could do the drills in drop-down lists as well as you want, if you want. You would just couldn't have these dividers because your spacing would change every time. But so we actually write those in every time. But the players we just do in drop-down lists in Excel, and it's an easy way for us to adjust the teams every day as we need. We have a little notes section. Didn't have any notes that day. Just again, for us, if there's any special announcements for the day, things we need to be thinking about. This is an important section, unfortunately for us, where we list all the guys who are injured, all the guys who can go for maybe just stick work and can't go full contact, who's going to be out, maybe they have an exam, who's going to be late, maybe they have an exam or leave early for an exam. School gets in the way of lacrosse all the time, it seems like. And then we put a little schedule note here on the side for what's going on the next day, just to be a reminder. It's something that we can touch base with the guys again on what's coming next. So that's a typical lacrosse plan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple others, and then go through some film of some of the drills that we're doing on these. So this is a few days later, like a week later, and another. These are all fall practices. In this one, we had team film and then split film. We split the O and the D out and do film separately. We're going to show you this 10-spot drill. It's a great full field passing drill. We wanted to get ground ball work in that day, so that's a different section. And then again, split development, a little bit longer that day. Transition work, we're going to be a much more up-tempo team this year than we have been. We were saying in our film today, for you guys who have been watching us, we've not been an up-tempo team. In our scrimmage on Sunday against Fairfield, we generated 12 transition opportunities. All of last season, we think we generated about 10 in the entire season. So we're changing the way we're playing. And then there are a lot of practices that we finish in overtime. It's a great way to finish competitively. And that usually goes for some kind of running to the losers. And then I skipped, we have a full field sub game here where we're working on how we sub off certain situations. We do a lot of situational work, and I'll show you that in the next practice plan as well. And then, of course, the Team 100 to wrap up. So this is a practice right before we play. And this is what every one of our practices look like the day before we play. And in this one, we actually didn't have we played on Saturday, but we were traveling that Friday and didn't practice. So this is a pregame practice. It's kind of a walkthrough, kind of a practice. We still did some split development because we needed some of the skeleton work. We had a very quick stick work just to get warmed up. Face-offs in this is full team face-offs where we got the wings going as well. It's not just the face-off guys working. We usually do that right before we play. We do it during the week once or twice as well. A little bit of man up, man down to clean up what we're doing. If it was a real game week and not a fall scrimmage, we'd have specific things in and some scout stuff we're doing. and then some 6s because we're still cleaning that up. And then this Team 4 drill changes every year based on what the team number is, but this is the drill that we always do the day before, and we just get the whole team on the sideline, all in the same color, and skeleton through all these situations. And we pick the situations we think we need to hit for that week. So the guys literally just run on the field, get in the right spots, we blow the whistle, we tell them where the ball is or what's going on, and they skeleton through it so that we get the right subs down, everybody can see what's going on. We make sure that all of these situations are clean in how the guys are running it. And I'll show you some of that. And then it also allows us to catch something if there's a misunderstanding, they don't really know what we're doing. Sometimes we might tweak something that we do a certain way every week. We've changed it this week. We do it in the Team 4 drill. The guys are running out, they look a little confused or it doesn't get done right. We can catch it there the day before we play and correct it. Maybe we didn't get to see that it wasn't getting run right in practice. And then the day before we play, we always finish with a quick overtime. Again, we want them going out competing. That we usually do 1s against 2s. So that's our day. And then you can see, you know, we put the next couple days schedule in there because we were going to play. So that's what they look like. I'm going to go through some drills, but are there any questions on that? Yeah?
Who do you share this with? Do the kids see it?
They see it, yeah. I've been through different ways of doing this, but I think, again, this is knowing your culture of your team. If your team, our team is to the point now that they don't mind working hard so much. You know, I think our practices are to the point now that they really enjoy a lot of what they do, about what we do, so they get excited for it. I've had teams in the past that you give them the practice plan early and they see a bunch of running, you're going to have the most down practice ever, right? So you have to read that and see what's appropriate for your team. But we like them to know. Now we're at the point that you know, they receive this very well. So we email this out. It goes up on their iPads, and it's in the locker room as well. They got a bunch of opportunities to see it before they're at practice. And then, of course, it goes to everybody that has anything to do with the program so that everybody's on the same page coming in. Anything else? All right. Let's check out a little film. So this is from that first practice, and here we're just doing some stick work to start. And you guys have probably done this, but we do a lot of this star pass drill. We really don't run line drills very often. We get kind of tired of line drills. So we try to change up what we do with our stick work every day. And this is just a way we get them in a big star here. You can do a tighter star, get them in a big star. Just a little bit of a way to change that up. You can do this with guys going all righty, all lefty, switching hands, rolling, catching over the shoulder. There's a lot of ways you can do ground ball, then pass, alternate that. There's a lot of ways you can change this drill up. And it's a warm-up drill, so you know, we're sloppy as we start a lot of times, and it's supposed to get us dialed in as practice goes on. So easy stick work drill. One thing that we really put a lot of work into now is getting the ball around the perimeter fast. We're doing this at this point with 4 spots. We've shrunk it down to 5 spots, so they have less space they got to throw it, but the idea is to whip it around the outside, and it's simply throwing it as hard as you can to the next guy. We want our guys to get to the point that in our offense you're not seeing the ball with any kind of arc on it. We want guys throwing stuff 2 ears straight, and so we work on this drill. It's an important part of what we do. We found that 4 spots like this was a little bit far for some of the guys to do consistently, so we shrunk it to 5. We just go from the star drill that we just ran and then start doing hard passes out of the star. And again, you can change up. You can go either hand, you can go switching hands, you can roll in this. A lot of different ways to do that. So this is one of Coach Brochard's favorite drills. He invented this. You might have shown this before. One thing that we really wanted to work on was, this is a 4-on-3 situation, offenses in maze. And we wanted to work on ground balls in front of the crease. It frustrates a lot of people when your defense isn't clearing ground balls out of the crease. So We have everybody on this arc. Coach is standing there with balls, bucket of balls, and he's probably rolling the first. We do 2 balls in this drill, so the first ball is usually going behind the guys. They got to find it, get it up and out quickly. Don't necessarily want them running through traffic like that. And then he'll throw one out to the offense. Now the defense has to get back in quickly, and you get a quick transition opportunity. And the next group comes in. Again, tempo. They're in, they're set, we're going. But this is the kind of thing that we want to be working on. We all get these situations.
We try to, with the defense, they pick it up in the middle here. We want them to run the space, not necessarily always run up the field. We're trying to get them going out the space on that first one.
And then teaching them to get back in the hole when there's a sudden change is a big part of this drill as well, that you can see. So this day we were working on working a little bit on our offense. So we did some 3v3 behind, and we were just working on the motion of our attack, how they rotate. This is a little bit more of an offensive drill than a defensive drill. The defense certainly gets a lot out of this. You get a one-on-one and some help defense, but we don't have enough guys in there to really do our slide recovery package. This is more for the offense to get used to their motion, how they keep their spacing, and in this particular offense we were working on, it's really simple, just rotation. But you need to practice that. And then we move to a 5-on-5 drill. And a lot of times, not going 6-on-6 can be really effective. We do a lot of 4-on-4 and 5-on-5 work. 5s is really the first point that you can kind of get your full slide package in. You don't necessarily need to be in 6s to do that. So we do, when we're working on defense, there's a lot of things we do in 5s because it simplifies it a bit. So here we have 2 attackmen in the midfield unit working. So now we're working on midfield motion, and the attack are more just there for support. It gives us enough guys for the defense to do what they need to do. Again, quick reps, get groups in and out as quickly as we can. We might have had a coaching point to make. Usually we want to restart and get going pretty quickly with the next one. You guys can interrupt me anytime if you have questions about things we're doing or if you want to ask the coaches about things they're doing in these. So I'm going to get into our next practice. This is the drill, the passing drill that I was talking about. I call this 10 spot. We've been doing this for a few years now. It's the same drill on both sides of the field. So if you just look, split the field down the middle, in the middle of the cages, just look on one side, you can see the whole drill, and you just repeat it coming down the other side. So we get a breakout over the shoulder. Everybody goes to every position in this. We get a breakout, He throws to a guy breaking down to him. He throws to a guy going across, down the other way. We get a front swing in front of him. He throws to a guy cutting to the goal, who gives it to the goalie. And it's just a way to get a lot of different passes in, to get the guys moving, to get their sticks going. This is a drill that we'll do competitive, and the way we'll do that is we'll give the guys 6 balls and 3 minutes. And they have to always have 2 balls active, and they can't go through. Once a ball gets dropped, hits the ground, it's out of the drill. And then and they need to get through the 3 minutes with those 6 balls. There's a lot of reps in this, so first few times we do it every year, they don't get it. I think it took us 3 times testing it this fall, and they finally got it. The first time they were done in about 1.5 minutes. So we're practicing getting a little bit more quick up the field right now. This is something that we just added in called a tempo drill. And what we're doing here is breaking out over the shoulder. We have 4 lines, 2 goalies. We have 2 cages down at the other end. So we're going on 2 cages. Those don't have goalies in them. But the attack's down there to receive the ball, so we can run kind of a skeleton break down there or just shoot. But the idea is we throw to the guy breaking out over the shoulder. He throws immediately upfield. The other guy is going full speed. We're just getting it down the field as quickly as we can. And it gets the guys in this habit of pushing pace. And if you're not in this habit, they won't do it. Right now, that's what we want done. We never would have done this drill the last 3 years. Right now, we're changing the way we're playing, so it's an important drill for us to get the guys used to pace. We do another one before this sometimes. It's just a straight-up breakout drill with 3 lines, 3 goalies where the guys are just running full speed, 1 down the middle, 1 on each side. We're just throwing over the shoulder passes because you're not going to complete those unless the guys are really used to them. Let's see, what else? We got a transition drill here. This is kind of a fun one. We do a 4v3 here. You can see we have 2 lines ready to go. And then we come back. That guy who just came down on the 4v3 is now on defense. We throw out to these 2 guys, the 2 blue guys breaking out. And it gives us a 5-on-4 coming back. And it's an opportunity for us to practice both of those kind of breaks. And now we start it over. Get a new guy out, and then we just flip it. Just go 1 line of blue, 2 lines of maize, and then we can run it the other way, 4v3, 5v4. That's a guy from the maize line who just got ready. He's already ready to run the drill. Wanted him breaking out from the middle, not from that line over there. It's a little more realistic. Now he gets back. A lot of different ways to run transition drills. Nice one if these are the 2 things that you want to work on that day. And I'm going to show you one more thing, I think, from our pregame practice. And this day, so this is the Team 4 drill, and I just want to show you, in case you couldn't get a sense, what it looks like. We're literally skeleton on the whole field. So here we're running through our clear. We're telling the guys, who's open and who isn't, so they know where they need to go with it. All the pieces to our clear. You can see we're talking through it. And we might do this once or twice, depending how many guys we want to get through it. Usually we do it once if we feel like the guys know it well. Sometimes we might then get a second unit to come in and run it. And now we set up and run the next situation. So same, skeleton time, doing skeleton clears, offense, rides, such an important part of what we do. So the guys really get used to, we want them to run it clean. So we'll bring it back and do it again here. But the guys get to need to get enough reps in without pressure on them to know where to go and what to do. So skeleton time is very important. This is us getting into a ride, how we sub in the ride. We're showing which side the ball's on. So here, I'm in maze, I have the ball, so they're playing it that way. There's certain ways we sub up here based on where the ball is. Now the ball's over here with Kenny. Now the ball's over here. We've subbed into our right spots. We're making sure that they understand situationally how to sub where to be. And there are certain situations in the ride that we have to show as well. Here we have somebody carrying over. We want the pole to come up and plug that, and the shorts to shut the two deeper guys. So we walk through all these situations. And if there was a problem that it was obvious they didn't understand something, it's a great time. You got everybody's attention to coach it, go through Skelly again. Here we go through a face-off situation. This is a face-off win back. How we clear it on a win back is very specific off the face-off. So we need to go through how we sub now into our clear, which we just screwed up, which is why we catch it. This is also fall. So now we can watch and make sure the subs are all right. This is a huge help to Casey, our box coach, to go through this stuff as well. He needs this. And we're out. So you guys get the idea. And we can go through every situation. We do our man down clear. We do how we ride out of the man up, so the guys understand, where to get to, and just as importantly, how we sub in those situations. That's always our last drill before overtime, before we play a game. Any questions? Yeah.
Is the attention from the boys in that? When you start off rough when you first time get it, or what?
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like high school kids, and the one guys aren't really paying attention.
Yeah, so the question is about attention span on the sidelines, and same with college kids. College kids are not that much different than high school kids. Again, that comes to, we've had issues with it. We don't anymore, for the most part, and it comes to how you build your culture and how your leaders are on your team and what your other coaches are doing on the sideline. That's an important part of it as well. What your trainer's doing, if you have a trainer there, if they're all helping you do that. But you have to build that culture. In the first few years that we would do drills like this, and we didn't have that yet, we'd have to stop the drill sometime. We might even have to stop the drill and say, all right, everybody on the line, we're running. We'll run once. We won't run them to death. We'll just run once, get the message, everybody pay attention. So, but as you build that, none of this happens overnight. As you build that, we're at the point now that we can have a pretty quick trigger that the guys, if they're losing focus, we can get them right back in. They figure it out. Yeah.
How do you balance between making coaching points in the middle of drills versus, the tempo's more important?
I understand exactly what you're saying, because believe me, we could coach for an hour every night, right? We see a million things every rep that we could change. And you have to resist the urge to do that and focus on what you think is most important. And we talk about that. We'll have themes for the day, that we know we're going to hit these things no matter what, because we got to fix this today. This is what we're going to work on today. We'll let some of the other stuff go. Your practice rules, you got to hit every day no matter what. But the things you're actually teaching, you've got to let some stuff go. But that's where film can be so important, right? And again, we have the capability to do a lot, but throwing the practice up on YouTube and telling the guys, look at what happened at 5 minutes, or just throwing those couple minutes up and saying, look at these 3 things that happened here, and now you've made that point, and you can move on to the next one. But I think the way to do it is just to think, I'm going to tackle this now, this later. Let's get this tackled now. Yeah, because you can't fix everything. And they really, we limit our film sessions to 10 clips, 10 minutes a lot of times, really quick, because there's no point in showing them everything. They're not going to get it. It's going to go right past them. Anything else? Yeah.
In terms of explain to kids why doing a thing about defenders is important, there's endless reasons, but what are
You know, we just,
Biggest reasons you would say?
it's funny, once we've started doing it, then the guys started asking for more of it because they started to see the value, how much better they got when they could understand and see what we were doing. You know, our offense especially does a ton of skeleton work. They have to get all the motions down. And we do a ton of it in the ride and the clear and in the sub game. And it just has to be, really it's based on mistakes. When we're making mistakes and stuff and we show those mistakes in film and you're asking guys and you're quizzing guys, you know, what are you supposed to do here? Well, I don't know. Then, you know, these are the keys now. You say, well, all right, then we'll skeleton it so that you can see all this. And now, you know, we quiz them the next time. Do you know what you're supposed to do in this situation? Now, hopefully the answer is yes. If it still isn't, you know, they start getting that they're not going to get it just playing. They're going to get it by actually doing it in a structured situation where there is no pressure. They don't have to catch the ball. They don't have somebody playing defense on them. They can understand where to be and what to do. And then
Just understanding, I have an issue coaching seventh graders.
seventh graders is, yeah, it's going to be,
About 3 of them insisted to me that they would catch the ball if I put defenders in drill. They couldn't throw and catch with nobody on them, but
yeah, I mean, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and it sounds kind of like her. So, I mean, what's the answer to that?
well,
Yeah. You know, ultimately, they just got to, maybe it isn't a 7th grade drill as much, or maybe, you know, I don't know what you do there. But,
oh, I mean, we're just like still at like fast break, where it's like we're gonna go through like, you know, pass here, then pass there, here's the, you know, 3 things you can do.
you know, ultimately, the point is just to know where to go here. And I think, you know, one of the important things that you can do in that situation is take the ball out of it. And just, you know, the point here is to know where to be. It's not to catch a ball and execute. If you want execution drills, do shooting drills, you know, where they're getting a ton of reps. If you just want them to be where they be, play with a beach ball and have them just carry the beach ball down the field to show where the ball is and throw the beach ball to the next guy, or a dodgeball ball, right? Take that part out so they can just focus on where they're supposed to be.
We call it Team 4 drill. Some of the other places I've been called the catch ace. But just what Coach was saying, his point he was making, it's just about knowing where you're supposed to be in situations. So the ball isn't necessarily important, especially this one.
Yep. A lot of these, you know, when we're doing the ride, they don't have a ball, right? We have the coaches just holding the ball, saying where the ball is. So that's really what it's about, just being in the right spots.
Guys on the sideline too, like knowing who's supposed to be in the box in certain situations, who's ready for the next sub that's going to happen.
Yep.
Right, I guess that
And not face off.
a little bit more like to this, I guess what you guys are doing, there are other similar things that where like, you know, not subbing,
Yep.
like it's just in drills without defenders.
Take the
Yeah.
stick work out of it. Yeah, I get it. The
Well,
drills
like-
without,
like,
no, I,
like stick work drills.
yeah, well, that's just reps. And that's, you know, that's where balls are so important. Because you know, I don't really care, I do, but if a guy drops 7 balls in a row, he just needs more reps, right? He needs more balls thrown at him.
The problem, the problem is that when that kid said, "Oh, I can catch it if you put a defender on me."
Yeah,
I just
well,
can't do it in this drill because there's no defenders, which is, I know it's not true, but
yeah, well, he's got to learn to do it both ways. So there's going to be times in a game he doesn't have a defender on him. Going to expect him to catch a ball and score. So anything else? All right, guys. Thanks. Who's up?